And yo, what's poppin', peeps? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. I'm here with my good pal PJ.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And yeah, PJ is from the Shuffle Squad. Shuffle Squad's one of my many sponsors, but likely one of my most favorite ones. There are a bunch of cool peeps over there. So if you haven't got a chance to check them out, go to the Shuffle Squad on YouTube, toss them a follow, subscribe there, because I also post weekly content there. So if you can't get enough of me, there's more content over there, and lots of great stuff from great players such as Lindsay Roscoff and Gabe Smart, Vaughn. Like, there's a lot of players there. That being said, we just saw that all Starbirth cards have been revealed on PokeBeach. Shout out to PokeBeach for always translating this stuff way quicker. I can't even speak Japanese, read Japanese, but they're translating these cards day one. So we're going to be going over and really seeing exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see this new set here. All the cards look fantastic. The artwork on them alone is just amazing. So I can't wait to read what some of these attacks and abilities do. You know, we utilize these cards, Zach, to play in our competitive decks for the content that we normally feature on both of our channels. And I just really want to see what is new and upcoming to either add to the existing meta decks or create brand new meta decks out of this. From here on out.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's where I'm in the same position, where it's like there's a lot of cards. What's going to be good? Because soon enough, I know we're looking towards bigger events such as the Team Challenge. Fingers crossed that we have regionals if things are in a safe place. Yo, how's it going, Tay? How's it going, Jank Enthusiast and Shannon and Goopa? You've got the whole gangs here, and we got a bunch of people watching, so shout out to y'all. There's a lot of really cool looking cards, and I mean, I just played through Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I think I got that right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either that or it's gonna be Shining Diamond. Anyways,
I know I gotta put my pre-order on Arceus here.
Yeah, I was actually lucky. Michelle got me that for Christmas, so I think that game comes
awesome.
out in a couple weeks, and that game looks cracked. But I like that a lot of cards are featured from the Sinnoh region, and it looks really cool. So if you're a fan of the video games, you're probably going to be a fan of the sets. Obviously, it's not going to be only consisting of Sinnoh regions, but I think Brilliant Star is supposed to be some kind of Sinnoh themed set, at least from what I can see, with a few showings of other cards. So that being said, I do like to jump into this because set reviews can get long. I do want to let everyone know before we start here that this video is kind of speculation. Not every single card that we see here may or may not make the sets. From the way that we think our set is going to be created in English, the Brilliant Star set, that it's going to be a combination of Starbirth and Start Deck 100 cards. So we'll go over with Starbirth first, because most of those cards should make it, and then it looks like our Start Deck 100 cards will trickle in at some points. However, there might be cards here that are reviewed that might not necessarily make it into the set, and there might be cards that aren't here at all that might find their way into the set. So I just want to let everyone know that a little bit. Okay, so PJ, we'll start off with the solid Execute. What are we feeling?
Okay. It looks like a couple of bulk cards here with Execute and Executor. We've got a little bit of damage here, not as cool as the old school Execute with Propagate, but it is still a cool artwork. Executor here, a lot of energy costs for not a lot of damage. Usually that signifies to me a bulk card. Then we kind of scroll down here. We got Shroomish and Breloom afterwards.
How are they doing in comparison? Are they?
I mean, a little bit better. Of 1 energy for 130 damage. That seems pretty decent.
But that's only if you use Illusion Spore the last turn.
Right.
And that's 30 damage, make your opponent asleep. So a lot of the cards, I mean, I think I'm going to make the executive ruling that we're probably going to go ahead and jump into more competitive cards and maybe skip through these ones. I mean, if anyone wants to check out the art, I did put the link to PokeBeach in the set. So it's one of those things where we'll see exactly how it goes from there. That being said, I mean, this might be for the pre-release or the build and battle decks. not too
Right.
much. Also, if anyone in the chat, because we are live at the time of recording of this, if anyone in the chat has any cards that they need us to reread up on, it wouldn't be my first, second, third, fourth, fifth time missing out on a card that was really broken. At the same time, there's cards that I feel like we're going to get them this time. The set I went through briefly last night when I was streaming for the Shuffle Squad. It was cool. I think Tropius might be the first card that we see that sees some kind of play. So it says each of your Pokemon that has any... I'll pull the card up so just people can see the art. Each of your Pokemon that has any grass energy attached to it can't be affected by confusion. I mean, I think something like this is always cool, especially if confusion is an issue in the format. That being said, confusion is not an issue, but I do like to kind of future-proof myself, and it might be worthwhile to pick up one Tropius or Tropius or however you pronounce these cards. If you ever catch me pronouncing a Pokemon wrong, I try my best.
I am awful at pronouncing some of these names. I mean, you got to think they're getting close to 1,000 Pokemon, so there's going to be a few that you just cannot pronounce. With a card like this, I feel like it's just a tech card. Again, like you said, Zach, if confusion becomes an issue, this is a splashable card in a deck, especially if grass comes up. I think later on we'll get into some more fire type decks, so I don't know if this is going to be a thing. I honestly, if I'm pulling this, I'm probably looking at skipping right over that card.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we see Turtwig, and a lot of these Pokemon, if they evolve, they're probably not going to be the best one. Maybe if it's a playable card, like I did see earlier today, that there's Minccino in the set that has Call for Family, so that might be really cool for Malamar decks or any deck that's playing Cinccino. But at the same time, it's one of those things where things like Grotto, some of these evolution Pokemon are great. I think the ability, when Drench Shell, once during your turn you may search your deck for a grass Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hands. I think that this card might be like just worthwhile in general.
Yeah, I think a lot of cards that have that grass search, you got to think, I believe it was Evolving Skies had the Eldegoss that could search for 2 energy cards. So now you have the ability to search for 3 energy cards. You have the Sharam that can plant energy on non-rule box Pokemon. So with extra energy support in a deck like this, I mean, obviously 100 hit points definitely helps too. You know, you can throw like a big charm on this to prevent some damage done to it with things like Rapid Strike Urshifu, Jolteon, if that's still a thing. But I think this card can be good. Especially, you know, like we were talking about in pre-release format, we still have some energy cards to go over, but the energy cost isn't terrible, but just the energy search ability, I think with some of the other cards we'll see in the later part of this video are going to be very good.
For sure. Now, I think Torterra is probably a little bit unimpressive compared. It does Grass Colorless, 50 damage. Does 50 damage for each of your evolution Pokemon in play. In our current format, it looks like we have Avery, that's pretty popular. In Duraludon decks, we also see that, I think there's a new stadium. I don't want to spoil too much when it comes through the set, but I think there's a stadium that also limits bench. So attacks like this, this would be for each Pokemon, each of your evolution Pokemon in play, unless we have a way to artificially grow the bench, like an Eternatus Eternal Zone ability. I don't think Evo Press is doing enough. It's doing like 300 damage, not enough to knock out VMAX Pokemon.
Right.
I'm just not feeling it. What does anyone feel anything about Torterra in the chat? Like, if let me know what your thoughts are as we go along as well, because it's one of those things where you might be like, Zach, there's this filthy busted grass glove thing, and you're like, that's what makes this card good, and I'm like, you want to know what, I miss that, because I'm just, sometimes you look at these cards at face value.
Right.
What else do we got? We got Burmy.
We got some Burmy.
This card looks so, they're all given the woot face. These don't even look like Pokemon half the time. They look like some Adventure Time kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly. Man, take me back, Adventure Time.
Oh, yeah.
I love a lot of the artwork on here. We've got the Wormadam.
Wormata. Ma'am.
Ma'am. So Rage got 10 damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile, very similar to how Mad Party is in No Leaks. Maybe we see Mad Party come back here, but I I don't know if 10 damage per Pokemon is gonna really sell it for me. If it was 20 damage, I might be a little bit more hyped on it.
Well, like I
But
think
it's
like
still,
you gotta get like what if like let's say Pokemon V Max have like what 320. That means
Yep.
you'd have to have 16, so 13 in your discard pile to get it if they had weakness.
right.
Do you think that's enough?
I mean, you have to be consistently hitting with this thing over and over again, and for me, it's cool in maybe alternative formats, but in something like a standard format, I don't think that we're gonna see any play with a card like this. It is cool. I like the artwork. I love when there's like a real life background and then a Pokemon.
Oh
in the
yeah,
card
no, these
art.
cards are always been some of my favorite cards that we've seen, like just in terms of art
Yeah.
style. I mean, the art in Pokemon keeps on getting better. The
Oh,
artists
yeah.
that they have for the game are absolutely amazing. We see Mothim because this card also evolves from Burmy. A lot of people don't know about all these things because I don't. Was Mothim and Wormadam, were those from BDSP? I don't know if people revisited this recently.
Yeah, that's something I have to check into, but I know that there's a lot of Pokemon similar to this being grass type or bug type where it can
Yeah.
evolve into different
No, it's all like kind of a blur. I mean, I don't know. I think that attacks like this are cool. It's weird. I feel like attacks like this, like doing 120, these would be really cool pre-release decks, build and battle decks.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of competitive play, I think that I might make a video for this on the channel, or PJ and I might screw around with decks like this for the Shuffle Showdown or something like this.
Exactly, because you want to know how to play decks like this too, with the cards that you would see in a pre-release, because that's
Sure.
how you get more packs. Honestly, if you're going to a pre-release for any of these sets for Brilliant Stars, I mean, you're going to be playing with these cards. You're hopefully pulling these from packs, and if you win, you get more packs, and then you have more codes to use on PTCGO or hopefully PTCG Live. So it's all good content here. So we're all looking into these cards under a microscope too to see what formats they might be good in. And then we kind of get to Shaymin, where that's one of the first poster children for Brilliant Stars on the pack art is Shaymin V, and we have the VSTAR also. So let's look at Shaymin V. We've got Wing Flap does 30, Revenge Burst 60 plus 40 more for each prize card your opponent has already taken. That could be really cool. Obviously getting energy on there as a late game hitter. I think that I don't think it won't see play. It's going to be
I don't know, like at the same
card.
time, like it might be like this really reminds me of some cards that we saw back when we got the original Diamond and Pearl sets. I feel like I definitely played with some cards like this and back in the day, but I just don't know if they translate well almost 10 years later.
Exactly.
And that's really what scares me a lot about these concepts, where it's just like it might be 15 years later. It's been time. Time just goes by. But in all seriousness, I think that this card seems okay. I could be completely wrong with that, and it might be way better. But like from what we've already seen with Galarian Moltres, which is very similar, where it's doing 20 plus 50. I don't know if the damage necessarily scales. Like if your opponent's taken 5 prize cards, you're hitting for 260. How are you powering this up in one single go? And that's I think the Baby Galarian Moltres might be better. The V-Star is the first V-Star we are going to go over in this review. So I do think that it's interesting. Revenge Burst, so it has the same attack, except it's doing 120 base with 40 more. So at 5 prize cards taken, you're doing what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 4, 320 for 2.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
That's pretty awesome. I think paired with some other cards in this set, it could be very nice. Again, as
it's
a
worth 2 prize cards
cleanup.
as well. Like a lot of people, like they might not necessarily know that because this is their first time maybe looking at a V-Star. This is worth only 2 prize cards, not 3.
Yeah, we've been so jaded with all these 3 prize card Pokemon in the past couple of sets ever since Team Up came around. So now getting back to the 2 prize card Pokemon again, it's refreshing to me. I don't know if anybody else in chat thinks that. If you're looking at these cards saying, that's the attack's not so great, but you got to think you're only giving up 2 prize cards for these Pokemon too. and they can really swing into a 3-prize Pokemon for knockout, and just the prize trade-off is going to be a lot better here.
The only other thing that I want to say is like it's also fitted into other aspects in the card. So damage output seems like it's going to be lower. The V-Star mechanic seems like it's cool, but it's only once per turn. And that could be abilities, attacks, or that's what we've seen so far in this set. There might be other things that it might be. We might see V-Star trainers for all we know, because when we got tag teams and stuff like that, I thought tag teams were going to be Pokemon. We saw triple tag teams, teams, trainers, and whatever. So it's kind of crazy. The HP is also lower as well here, so it might not be able to withstand as many attacks. I mean, I don't know if I could be sold on Shaymin VSTAR, if it's one of those things where, do you think that, like, I'm thinking about decks like Victini VMAX, for example, and I'm like, will Revenge Burst ever two-shots a Pokemon? Will that ever work out like that, right? Like, because Victini goes 220, 220. This does 120 and then maybe 160, or 120 plus 200, which might work out. So maybe Shaymin VSTAR might be worthwhile in some capacity. I mean, I'm going to tentatively put it on the buy list. It's not my hot buy right now.
Right. It could definitely be like a backseat buy if things turn out, you know, the way I kind of think that they're going to turn out. We're probably going to see a lot more fire come into the meta, and with that weakness just glaring at me, it seems like a really niche. There's going to have to be a lot more grass support. I think there's a few trainer cards we'll get into later in the video that I think pair well with this card, but again, you know, it is a stage 1, so you do have that where you have to, you know, do the evolution aspect of the card to get it into play, but I don't think it's awful. I put it on a maybe.
Yeah, I put it on a maybe. Like, I think, like, I'm just saying, if we take the core of what our Victini VMAX deck looks like right now, and we play it exactly the same way, it might be able to do similar numbers at less prize cards. So I don't think it's great. I'm not jumping for joy with this concept, but in terms of a V-Star, it seems somewhat playable. If you're newer to the game, this would definitely be a deck that I could see some peeps bring in a league. The art on the V-Stars look crazy, so
good on the art.
Okay, so we now see an English card because this set did release some English cards early as well. So we know for sure these ones are making this set. So we do see Charizard V. 90 damage before doing damage, discard all Pokemon tool cards from your opponent's active Pokemon. That could be quite hot. I don't think Pokemon tools are killing it right now, but in the case of like a Duraludon with a Big Charm or something, like, it's not bad. I'd rather do that than a straight up 90. And then Heat Blast is it seems pretty mediocre in terms of that.
You gotta think too that a lot of the fire decks that we've seen in the past couple years play only basic energies. So because Duraludon is so huge right now, and I feel like its biggest weakness is probably any sort of fire deck. If you look at the matchup versus Victini VMAX, as we were just talking about, if Charizard V comes back into the meta, I think it's just going to snuff out Duraludon VMAX right now. And then, you know, again, with the tool cards being removed, I feel like we're going to see an influx in tool cards, and that's just my my hot take on this set, is that we're going to see a lot more tool cards, things like Big Charm, you know, to buff the HP. Obviously, because of all of the lower HP on the V-Star cards, I think that that's something cool, especially with this Charizard V-Star that we have here. I think that the
280 is a nice bit of HP for a 2-prize card Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, you put a Big
and it's
Charm
a Charizard,
on there.
so if you pull these from your things, I know some collector's gonna want it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I have a small Charizard collection behind me of sealed product, so I keep that just to break in case of emergency, if you will. But I mean, Charizards, they love printing Charizards at TPCI, so here's another one, and I feel like this is a playable Charizard too. You know, it's not often that we get a playable card. They're more of a collector card, which is totally fine. I mean, that's what they're meant for. But doing 320 here, you can just knock out a Pokemon VMAX out of nowhere, as long as you're able to load it up. And then the first attack isn't anything to shake a stick at either. Explosive Fire, 130. If this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, the attack does 100 more. So you could potentially swing for 230. For this, and I think that there's going to be some fire support we talk about later too. I don't feel like it's a bad card by any means. This is definitely on a buy list for me.
I mean, okay, so my whole thing is I was looking through this, and I know a lot of people are asking, why would you play this card, and is there any acceleration? I mean, there's this new stadium, I think it's Magma Basin, if I'm not mistaken, and it's you grab a fire energy from your discard pile, I think, and you attach it to one of your Pokemon that is fire type and give it 2 damage counters. So that works well for the explosive fire attack here. And I mean, it's cool, but in a lot of ways, I just don't know if we're ever going to get off enough energies to make this happen. I mean, you have to attach an energy on this Pokemon turn 1 as a V, and then Magma Basin attached to explosive fire to do 230. I mean, I think Charizard can chain itself, but the biggest question is after you use V-Star, which you can only use your V-Star power once per game, and that's the Star Blaze attack, does this card have relevance at just doing 230?
I mean, 230 is a nice number to hit because you're taking out opposing Vs if they're non-evolved, so that's a nice way to go about thinking your prize map. You know, 230 is still 2-hit KO potential if you're hitting 230 back to back, if you're able to chain. You know, we still have supporters in the game like Bead. I know it's a niche supporter, nobody really plays Bead, but it's still a way of accelerating. We still have Turbo Patch. People, you know, don't go back to that card and think that's a relevant card, but that's another energy acceleration way.
Well, I don't think you could Turbo Patch to a V-Star.
Right, not a V-Star, but if it's a V on your bench. Yeah, and it's just an alternative way to do it. I feel like there is another Marnie card coming out that might help in acceleration for energy. So
yeah, we'll have to look. We'll look through a little bit, but like at face value, this card seems. I don't want to say it sounds mediocre. It sounds playable, and we'll have to see exactly what other cards are available in this set. So these are cards that, like, I think, like, so far I would pick up. I'm also compiling a list on the side while we're going through this, and I will be sharing you what my list is afterwards, just on cards that I would pick up, and probably including that with articles and stuff like that. And so Charizard's a card that I wouldn't sleep on, although I'm not, like, drooling at the mouth to play this card.
Right. And a little thing that I keep getting excited about, I think people have forgotten because there's just so much Pokemon news out there, is that they were talking about during the pre-release kits having pre-built decks this time around instead of a normal pre-release kit like we've seen in the years past. So I'm almost thinking that they're going to pop in like a Charizard V and V-Star in some of these pre-release kits together as a pre-built deck.
Hey, thank you so much for the dono. I really appreciate that. NRTV20, let's get it. I appreciate all the people that make it possible. Anyways, I think that Charizard's cool. Let's go on. We're going to jump from Charizard right into Magmar. Really cool art. Absolutely wild arts.
Yeah.
But we know that Magmar is not going to be... It's not going to be that card. But is Magmortar that card? I mean... I find like this is kind of the same vibe as what we've seen with previous cards of like this. It's I think even in like the Diamond and Pearl area, there was like this Electivire Magmortar like lore where they're both like these similar Pokemon from Electabuzz and Magmortar that finally got a chance to evolve with the powers of Mount Coronet or whatever. 120 if Electivire is on their bench, you're doing 240. I think there's probably more efficient ways to do 240. If you're battling it up and you got access to the Electivire, Magmortar, Magma Basin, this could be really cool. When it comes to competitive play, I don't think 240 is going to cut it. However, it could, like, it might be better than I think if you just get the 1/1 Electivire. Like, I could see this being a budget deck. I could see this being a really cool deck to play around with, but I don't know. It's weird. We do see Moltres, though. Moltres is interesting for sure.
Yeah, I like that paired with the Magma Basin. I think that those cards will work in conjunction with each other, and it's good for, you know, one energy attacker. So something, and you're in term to kind of hit through, you know, again, if we're talking about prize map, to have a one prize attacker in between your two prize attackers or your three prize attackers, I feel like it's just a good card to splash in there. I mean, if we go back and look at, it wasn't too long ago where we had Volcanion as a prime card in all of those GX decks for fire, just as a single prize attacker, and also
well, even like Hoopa right now, right? We look at like current day in our Fusion Strike metagame that we have access to these Hoopa Moltres decks, and you're just doing 90 damage. This could just do 90 damage. It seems pretty like one energy 90 damage is not going to be bad, especially when a single prize card Pokemon. The lack of weakness isn't going to make it crazy relevant, but in the right deck, I think that this card is a viable option. So, I don't know. I like that one. We see Chimchar, 30 damage, nothing crazy. 30, 50, nothing crazy, but what's Infernape up to? When I read this, I was like, I'm pretty sure somewhere Tricky Jim's jumping for joy. For a fire, you're doing 80 times. Reveal the top 5, 80 for each energy card revealed this way. Then you discard those energies and shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So you have a way to stack your deck with some energies legally. I always, when I say stack your deck, you always want to find some way to do it, like with Rotom Phone or something. I mean, I'm sure there's always that one cadet league who's playing this deck who's a little suspicious, and you're like, he always gets 5 energies or something like that. But in all seriousness, cards like a Rangaroo, Rotom Phone, there might be other ways that I haven't necessarily thought of. I think Infernape seems kind of like a funny card. Do I think that it's great? 4 times 8 is 320. I just don't think you're going to get 4. And you have to discard those energies. However, this would work with Volcarona V.
Yeah, Volcarona V would be cool, because you're discarding those energies. Again, a stage 2 seems really cool for pre-release, not so much for standard right now, unless we get some sort of evolution acceleration.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm gonna just write it down as a potential deck idea. I don't know if it's worthwhile to pick up. It might be.
Could be fun. It could be cool in like Cube or something like that, where you're pairing it with the old school Mag Cargo that allows you to do, I forget what the ability name was. I think it's Smooth Over. And you can put a card on top of your deck, or again a Rangaroo in the current format could be cool. And then we move to my favorite type is water. Here is the next one coming up.
Ooh, Lapras. What do you feel about this Lapras, PJ?
We got some Slapras here. Slapras fan. Lapras frost damage does 110 if any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage. Your opponent's paralyzed. So paralyzation is something we haven't seen for a little bit. Again, I'm always a fan of water Pokemon. The energy cost for me is really what kind of deters me from this. To have, I mean, you still have Frostmoth. To accelerate.
But I feel like if you're Frostmothing, like, it doesn't matter if they're paralyzed. I think if you're attaching 3 energies to something, you probably could have knocked it out had you played a little different, or had different Pokemon. So it's not like you could slip this into a control deck. I mean, this might be at some point a better single prize card attacking option than what we currently have for a water deck. But I just don't think that this card cuts it on its own. We see a bunch of cards that are just, again, a lot of these cards are filler art for collectors, not for players. We do cover more competitive content. So I am going to skip over the Corphish Groudon that are... Crab Impact is a funny name, but not really...
Not a good attack here. Discard 2 energy for 3 energy cost. Not cool. It could see some niche play again pre-release, but that's we'll skip over that and move right on to the big penguin guy. We've got Empoleon here, that has a sweet ability. If we scroll down a little bit, we can see Emergency Ascent. Once during your turn, if this card is in your discard pile and you have no cards in your hand, you can play this card onto your bench and draw 3 cards. Very similar to a Arceus style card. And
Well,
I
we also
think
saw
that
this with Greninja, right? I think there was a
Right.
Greninja that did the same thing.
there's a Greninja GX that did that, and that seems really cool. Again, water, and then it hits for 1 energy, does 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Not the greatest thing, but it's still cool as an extra attacker. I think in a lot of those Zoroark decks there that have um, the churn and burn style to it, where you're just putting things in your discard. This is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like okay. Like drawing 3 cards is cool, but I just don't feel like the benefits like crazy. I mean, something like this could work with Torterra.
Yeah, Torterra could be cool. You could even play with Scoop Up Net. You know, put it on your bench, scoop it up, discard it again, and do it all over again. It doesn't say, oh, it does say once during your turn. So I mean, potentially it's an extra draw. So that's cool.
Well, yeah, it's because it says only once during your turn, but you can use more than one emergency ascent per ability per whatever.
Yeah.
Let's
so I mean, if we can chain it, that would be cool.
We have enough cards to make it happen, right? Like, because like you gotta understand, like when Arceus was out there, that we had access like to super energy retrieval and stuff like that, and making cards like that, discarding your hand, grabbing back 1 energy. Like with Ultra Ball, Cram-O-Matic, Pokeball, Great Ball, like we have enough burnable cards as we see with Mew that a card like this could be cool. Although we gotta understand that we are trying to get this card out to draw 3 cards. That's not really a great effect at that point. Run a hop. And then you have Water Arrow doing 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. If there's a card that's like, if you have an Empoleon in play, I can see that being busted. If you have something like Torterra, trying to get out of evolutions. But I don't even understand if the Torterra works with this, because this is an unevolved Pokemon and it might not be an evolved, like I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could be interesting in Torterra. It could be cool paired with Telescopic Sight, and that's another thing. So now we're hitting 90 on a bench Pokemon. That could be cool. It all depends on how it's played. You'd still need like the hit and run style where you're putting a damaged Pokemon on the bench, or a spread deck if we see spread happen. But I feel with another card coming up, we're not going to see spread as much, which is, it's a big sad for me because I love that archetype.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get it.
We got Weasel and Floatzel. Again,
put 2 item cards from your discard pile in your hand is a big deal.
Yeah.
This could be New Age control.
That's very control-y, and it makes me happy. I love control. We were talking about Cinccino earlier. I've got all my promo Cinccinos from Sword and Shield base set, collecting dust over here. But great cards. I love the trade ability, and then with putting stuff back, if we're able to chain. I mean, getting stadiums back in the meta that we're in now is huge.
Well, I don't think you grab stadiums. I think this is only items.
Oh, it's item cards, yeah. So if we're able to get item cards back, what is it, Pokemon Catcher, if you're able to stick like a Galar Mine, and people are running lower counts of Switch, lower counts of Escape Rope. So if you're able to surpass, if you're playing a single prize deck, and now you're able to get down, your opponent's only got 2 prize cards left, and they're out of Switch cards. I mean, you're looking pretty good if you're trapping something in the active, and then you're putting item cards back into your hand. Maybe you're shuffling up with Marnie. Just, there's so much to this. There's a lot that can go into it. I would not find it surprising to see more control come back out with this set being released.
Yeah, no, I could totally see it too. And I mean, I think there was a couple trainers that worked really nicely with that, so we'll see how that plays out. But I think we'll see exactly how this goes. This is a card that might take a while to break, but I'm sure there's got to be enough annoying cards like Crushing Hammers to just loop things back, and it seems really fun. Lumineon V seems very interesting. If anyone's played the game with Tapu Lele GX, a card that's won multiple internationals and was featured in World's winning decks, you may, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card, put it into your hands, and shuffle your deck. So kind of like Crobats, You, instead of Crobat and grabbing something, you could just go ahead and Lumineon and search your deck for a Professor's Research or turn 1 Marnie or whatever you need. I could totally see this card being valid in a lot of decks.
Right. I love the attack too. The attack is really nice because it's very similar to how Eldegoss was, where you could do the Eldegoss loop, where you're able to put Eldegoss and all cards attached back into the deck, loop it back around, and do it all over again eventually. You know, Aqua Return has that same ability. Plus, you're hitting for 120. Obviously, Tapu Lele, if we look at it in, you know, telescope or a microscope here, whichever the scopes you want to look at it through, but that one was able to hit in the meta for obviously psychic weakness back then, but with energy cards. And I think just being able to put this back in and add cards to your deck instead of decking out is so good. You know, we're gonna see more colorless energy support soon here too, and I really feel like this card is going to see a lot of play, not only now, but post-rotation too. It's going to be a very playable card. So this is for sure on my 100% buy list.
Yeah, this is definitely on my must-have list. Like, I put it as 2 copies collectively. We did see Tord Rekliv play 4 copies of Tapu Lele GX at one point. So I don't think this is necessarily going to be as good because Tapu Lele had a very viable attack. This attack looks very much more specialized and costs more. So really, whatever.
And beautiful card art too. So, and for all of you collectors, I mean, you surely know that we're probably getting either an alternative art here because that is what we've seen, or you know, the rainbow rare, things like that. So these are going to be highly sought after cards.
No, I definitely think it's going to be great. So
all right, here we go. The big baddie here, 70 HP.
I'll let you take this one over. PJ, take the wheel.
All right, so the Manaphy, the Wave Veil, prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon. We saw how huge Mew was with Bench Barrier, and this is just the same effect. The community's been asking for it, and here it is finally. You know, everybody on Twitter was hyped over this card. We now don't have Jolteon sniping the bench. We now don't have Rapid Strike Urshifu sniping the bench. It is a full prevention. Somebody was talking about Dragapult, but unfortunately Dragapult could come back because it can hit this little guy and then really destroy people's benches when you're placing damage counters. But I think with Jolteon being so huge right now, this is a very, very splashable card. Zach, what are your thoughts on something like
I feel like a card like this has been necessary for a while. I think it's literally one of those things where we have Rapid Strike, multiple variants of Rapid Strike Urshifu, because we have the base straight up Rapid Strike Urshifu that Andre Chiasen, Calvin Tathenlong have been playing. We have the Melanie Fu version that everyone has been playing that's been popularized by Tord. We have the Galarian Moltres version of Rapid Strike. Like, Rapid Strike is everywhere. Jolteon's everywhere with 2 variants of just like a straight up Jolteon variant. And of course, you have the Jolteon variant that's popularized that Lindsay was able to win that 170 player person tournament the other day. Shout out to the Shuffle Squad. We got to give all the credit where we can give it.
Yes.
It's one of those things where it's cool. However, a lot of people have brought up that there are ways to get around this. So we have Quick Shooting Inteleon in those decks that might be able to ping off the Manaphy eventually. And what we might see is more Metacham play that could hit this, because it goes through because Metacham's damage counters. So while I do think this is a viable counter and some decks might need it, so Suicune, for example, is probably like, heck yes, we have a bit of a better chance to beat Jolteon. It's more balanced than people think, and I think it's great.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to play this. I have all my my Suicunes that have also been sitting here collecting dust, and I can't wait to get out and play it in a non-Jolteon heavy meta. And Rapid Strike Urshifu is also a pretty terrible matchup for Suicune, I feel. So I'm glad to see that card come out.
Oh yeah, big facts. I agree with that. Moving into less interesting cards, Cubchoo with I feel like Cubchoo should get a COVID test because that definitely looks like a symptom of Omicron. Not to bring this into any kind of medical thing. I mean, poor Cubchoo's out here. Like, get that PCR, homie. It's not going well. And I mean, this one looks a lot better. They're a little angry that they had COVID, but they evolved.
It's doing okay. It's doing okay. It's got a different variant there on the chin. But anyway, we've got Sheer Cold, does 40 damage. Nothing crazy here. Raichu is a fan favorite if we move down to the Raichu.
I think this card's actually really good.
You like this card?
Okay, so as a Blacephalon homie, I think this is very Blacephalon-like. This is kind of how I perceived Raichu to be. That it's all good. So if you go first on your first turn, which sounds great, you can search your deck for a lightning card. So like no matter when you start, you're gonna be chilling with the Raichu. You could get an energy and do something. If you play this with Flaffy, you could do 240 and kind of churn it.
Right.
You could do more. Like there's ways to do more. This is also a basic Pokemon, not a stage 1. It is a V, not a V-Star, not a V Max. So I mean, you do have a Pokemon like if you play this with Boltund, and I think we finally have a Lightning Box deck, a real Lightning Box deck.
And Zach, being a fan of Lightning Box, you know, playing Pikarom to the finish of Players Cup 2, you know, I think this is gonna hit a lot of people at home trying to play Lightning Box over again. Tapu Koko VMAX might make a comeback, just doing the paralyze effect in their attack and then setting it up for a huge knockout. My hot take is you play this card, maybe slap a Cape of Toughness, and then you play Volcarona V. Put all those energies back in the deck. And then similar to how Victini V-Star was, I think that that's an archetype we will definitely see, which scares me as a water player because now we have the lightning weakness again. And Raichu could be very good.
Like, this seems like it might be better than Ray. I think, like, it's just, like, you could take all energies, not off one Pokemon. Ray's only, I think, 80 times.
Yeah.
So I think, like, and like they're saying in the chat, too, like, with Manaphy, the Flaffies are now safe on the bench.
Right.
I mean, this might be okay. Like, I think, like, these are the decks that I really want to try on the Shuffle Showdown with you. And be like, yo, PJ, look what decks I brought this week. And I think that seems really fun.
Yeah, for sure. Will chat like to see a Raichu deck? Because I would like to see a Raichu deck. I mean, Pikachu is the namesake for Pokemon, and Raichu always kind of gets the poor end of the bargain here. And I think Raichu V coming back into it just gives him some life again. I would be hyped to see a good build, especially from a Blacephalon player like yourself, Zach. I'm sure that you could make it work.
I have the build in my mind already. My mind's going to... I'm also going to be covering early deck lists of these. I know that definitely I've caught some shade on Twitter before from some very nice people. Not going to name names, but it's one of those things where I will be putting some early deck lists out for these decks. And I really just like messing around like any other player and throwing it out there. It's content, but at the same time, it's one of those things where if you want to see my hot takes, stay tuned for those in the next couple days. Days, like the set just literally, we saw the translations late last night, so I'm pretty hyped to see what's good.
I mean, look at we were creating Gengar in the shadows for a while, and then it started winning events. And
I mean, Gengar right now, I think Robin Schultz just put up a Gengar VMAX article on the Pokemon.com front page, so I haven't got a chance to read through that one yet, but it's definitely one of those things where a lot of people like to talk a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you know, if you want to stay in the competitive loop, you know, we at the Shuffle Squad and on Zach's page offer free content. You know, we always talk about our deck lists when we're hyping them up. You know, we create them in the shadows here amongst the team, and Zach creates them with the community, and then, you know, we're posting out that content. So if you want the top level competitive content, you want to stick around for everything that we have to offer.
Yeah, and I mean, not everything is going to be a hit. It's one of those things where my early takes of Gengar weren't as good as the later takes of Gengar, but sometimes it starts something. I think. Stormy Mountains too for the Raichu. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Stormy Mountains. There's a lot of support there. There's a lot of support.
It just seems like something's got to be good there. Like it's got to be okay, right?
Right.
We see the other half of... I'm going to skip over Electabuzz. I mean, Electabuzz is a little grrr, and... Then we have...
Cool since base set.
It's... we got the Electivire with the Explosive Volt, 30 plus 90 if you have a Megmortar with some damage on there. It's
Right.
one of those things where I just don't necessarily feel like this one's going to vibe out. 50 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon might be cool. Although I don't know if that's worthwhile enough, especially as we see Manaphy in the same set.
No, you already have Baby Raichu that does a similar effect for 1 energy cost, so to have this in here, it's too much setup.
So, moving on, we got Shinx. I like Shinx free retreat. When it comes to stuff like this, it's hot.
Yeah.
I like basic Pokemon with free retreat. I like any Pokemon with free retreat. I don't know how it got slower as it evolved. I guess it's like how I feel.
Heavier.
You hit 25 and you get a bad back and you start getting pissed off at the worlds.
It happens.
Luxray
has always been a great card. I feel like it hasn't been getting very much hype. The card art is fantastic though.
Oh, it's crazy. This card looks like it. This card's going crazy right now. 50 times the amount of energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon's kind of cool. I could be wrong, but I think there might be a Luxio that is like the Lombre. Is there one that you can like rip off the top?
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely that. I know that we have Rapid Strike support for some of the Luxray line, so there's lots that you can do with this. The damage output though, Flash Impact 110 also does 30 to one of your benched Pokemon. If you're hitting your own bench and you're only putting out 110, it just doesn't seem great. The first attack is cool, 50 damage times the amount of energy. If Shadow Rider ever comes back, I mean, this is... It one-hit KOs Shadow Rider if you're fully set up, so that's cool. Again, a stage 2, but if we've got the top entry Luxio, that could help. It could be a splashable card. I don't know if we'll see a budget deck made out of it, but it doesn't seem bad.
I mean, I just don't think energies are at a place where there's enough energies in play to make Energy Crush a default. Like, this card could be cool. I think it's probably going to be, like, again, a deck profile on a YouTube video for, like, an...
Right.
And we'll see how it goes. Pachirisu is a card that doesn't seem like much at first, but there's a Honchkrow V in this set that I think is crazy that allows you to attach up to 4 Pokemon tools. And Wind Up Thunder does 30 damage for each Pokemon tool attached to all your Pokemon. So if you got a few Honchkrows out there, this Pachirisu's ripping heads off.
I mean, between that and what was it, Garbodor VMAX could attach multiple energies, and that's a dark type Pokemon too. So we could see this played with like an Aurora energy, and in a dark deck, which is huge against things like Mew, and if Shadow Rider ever comes back. So definitely a splashable card. I would put this. I mean, it is a. Is it a common card? It looks like it's a common.
Yeah, it looks like it's a common. It's a little C in Japan.
Yeah. So I mean. It's a card that I would look to have at least 1 or 2 of, and it's pretty easy to get.
Well, I mean, I think this is even a 4 of in a deck. Like, I think it's its own deck.
Okay. I mean, I'll build it. I'll build it and see what happens.
I just think that, okay, like, if you have 3 Honchkrows in play, they each have 4 tools, and you gotta understand that the tools could be going crazy, too, because we also see that we got, not to leak anything from this set, but we got a new Choice Band kind of reprint for V Pokemon. So let's say if you have a Choice Band on this Pokemon, you have a Quad, you have 4 Cape of Toughness on a Honchkrow, so it's chilling at 400 HP or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you have another one with a bunch of Spirit Masks or Air Balloons, and you're just dropping tools like it's hot. I feel like, what's it?
I mean,
if you have 10 in play, PJ, you're doing 300 damage.
300 damage. 300 damage plus, you know, you put that new the Choice Belt on this, and now you're hitting for 330. And that's a lot of damage. I mean, you can power through these VMAX Pokemon with the 70 HP Pachirisu. There is that Greedent. You remember Greedent from a couple sets back where you can search out tools? It was played in that Whimsicott deck. So
I'll have to check it out. Like, I'm just going to look on PTCGO, search Pokemon Tool, see what Pokemon tools exist, because I'm sure there's a lot of ones that I probably forgot about, because Pokemon tools largely have been irrelevant in the formats.
Right.
I mean, that's why Tool Scrapper is at an all-time low of play. Like, we've had those cards, we've had other formats where Pokemon tools have been very much more important. I just think something like this screams tier 2 deck, but it might be broken. It does absolutely fail the path to the peak, though, with the Honchkrow ability. But if we ever get anything like Chaotic Swell in the future, that might be kind of the hotness.
have a love-hate relationship for Chaotic Swell. I want it back for certain decks, but I really
like Chaotic Swell. A lot of people didn't like it. I really like that card, and I think like especially with Path to the Peak, it'd be really nice to have some more basic stadiums.
Right.
But I don't know. But we'll see. I mean, Pachirisu definitely like in a non-path metagame might have a chance to be a really cool budget deck or something like that. And I mean, we could probably feature this one on the Shuffle Showdown too. I like really featuring the brand new decks, the essence of Brilliant Stars.
Exactly. Let's see. We got a Clefable line. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Clefable.
It's very cute with the one tooth, though. I'm not gonna. I don't know what happened to the other tooth. Like, I don't know if this Clefairy secretly has Fight Club. And
it's okay.
But that's okay.
I'd watch.
You see the bags under its eyes too. Like it stayed up all night, lost a tooth. I'd say I've had those nights, but I luckily have all my teeth.
There you go.
What do we with this one? What's that word called, PJ? Do we vestigious?
Vestigious.
Vestigious.
Let's see. Flip 3 coins for each head. Search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon and put that Pokemon. You evolve it. So that's kind of cool. It's a little niche.
Yeah, I think it's really it would have to be for some kind of like really weird control deck. Although I do want to continue on with the story with 2 cards. So we have the Clefairy that stayed up all night, got bags under its eyes, lost a tooth, continued on to the night, fighting, lost another tooth, still bags under eyes. Now it's so far gone it thinks it could walk on water.
And there you go.
And that's really how you go. That's the story. Of,
the fate of this Clefable.
I've had a lot of those nights.
Hopefully it's okay. I hope it's okay.
I hope someone please check on the Clefable. I'm glad that Clef's not in the set.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll look at Baltoy again. Another one of these cards that it's just blah.
Claydol, every once in a while we get a good Claydol. I don't think
this one's 90 plus 90, 180.
The card art though is cool.
This card art be hidden. It looks really cool.
I really like the way that it looks because I know on Netflix there's supposed to be that new live action Pokemon show, and it almost seems like this would be like an artwork that's stolen from the show.
Oh yeah, that maybe they did. Maybe this is the precursor. We do see Duskull. I mean, anytime I see a Duskull lines, I know there's got to be some sneaky stuff. I'm gonna say that there's got to be some energy denial, special energy stuff. Like it's always the same kind of theme. Nothing there. They're confused. Your opponent's now confused. Cool art, really cool arts.
Yeah.
I think this is a great set for collectors, and I mean most sets are great card sets for collectors, as we could see by the lack thereof on Target and Walmart shelves. But we got Dusknoir.
Dusknoir.
I don't know. Does that look like a Pokeball that's coming out of its hand a little bit?
Kind of, or a Dusk, like a Shadow Ball attack.
Gotcha. Could be really cool. Also, I do want to give if anyone here hasn't subscribed to the channel already, we are on the hunt to get to 10,000 subs. We're about 1,000 or so away. Maybe, well, more like 1,300 away. But if you could toss that sub button and give this video a thumbs up, it does really help boost the algorithm. Maybe tell some of your friends that this channel is going on. We're so close to getting there, peeps, and it'd be great if we can get there really soon. Channel's about a year old, so it'd be awesome if we could get that going on. Oh, it's Shadow Ball Fire. Special trans. As often as you like during your turn, you may move a special... See, I told you. Move a special energy from one of your Pokemon to another one of your Pokemon. I think this is actually a pretty cool card.
That is pretty cool. I think that if we had the old school Duskull, that you can discard 3 cards from your hand to evolve into the Dusclops, it would be nicer. So maybe an expanded too.
Do we not have that anymore?
No, that rotated out. I think it was Cosmic Eclipse that came out.
It's one of those cards where it's like I always think that those cards live forever, and I really
But to do that, I know Dream Ball is still a thing. You got to think about Dream Ball for all these other evolutions that we kind of skip over, because you could do that with the Peonia. Peonia Dream Ball combo is still a relevant thing. We see it every so often. This Dusknoir could be cool. You're still hitting for 120 with it, which isn't awful, especially for psychic Pokemon. If we start to see, more of those the fighting type with the psychic weakness come out. Moving the special energy is cool. You could do it with things like horror energy, moving that around as needed. I don't know if this will really see play, but it doesn't hurt to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I could see maybe some kind of I honestly don't even know what I'd be moving special energies around for yet.
Right.
It might be some way to accelerate things, but you want to know what, Dusknoir, I think it might be worthwhile to pick up 2 of these cards, just in case.
Right.
I don't think they're really going to be too expensive or break in the bank. But otherwise, it's one of those cards that could be good in the future. It's really interesting, and that's what I think about this set right now. A lot of these ideas seem very infant and might not be as good as Mew VMAX, but in a year or so, when we see another rotation, I find that that's when we thought Sword and Shield didn't look great at the beginning. Sword and Shield looked amazing a year later. This set looks like it's going to be amazing a year later. Chimecho,
sure.
Search your deck for 2 special energy cards, reveal them, put them into your hand. I feel like that's not really worthwhile because you're wasting an energy to search for 2 energies that I just don't really see it. Oh, move it, then Cheryl, then move it right back. See, that's why we need Lindsay on the team. She knows exactly what she's talking.
Yes, exactly.
That's really cool. I mean, I guess Cheryl with this sounds cool. I mean, Bronzong might be better if you're playing special energies anyways.
Is there still a Gengar too that you have a Gengar that can move damage counters from psychic Pokemon? And I think that would be cool as Cheryl.
Dusknoir, Gengar, Cheryl Pokemon deck. I mean, there's got to be a way to make this card cool. So
I wish it was like a Fusion Strike Pokemon too, just to have the extra attack. But you can't ask for the world here.
What do we got? Whimsicott V's a card that a lot of peeps thought was pretty cool.
I miss old Whimsicott GX.
Yeah.
Back so long ago.
So 20 damage if the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon. It can't attack during your opponent's next turn. We see how attacks like that are not effective because of Escape Rope, Boss. Most decks they can evolve into a non-basic Pokemon. So there's very few things that don't necessarily matter. 90 damage during your opponent's next turn. This attack does 30 less damage from attacks. I don't think we got a Whimsicott V either, did we? Before? I don't think so. Like, another thing that I do want to bring up is, like, we already have a Charizard V. I never got to bring that up. Charizard V could evolve into Charizard V Max or V-Star. And we do have Charizard V already in our format from at least Darkness Ablaze. So it might be something interesting for these cards to mix and match. So I'm thinking about Whimsicott. I did want to bring that up, that I completely gapped that's a thing. There might be the Charizard V from Darkness Ablaze might be better than that one. I never thought of it with Magma Base in the format, to be honest. So moving back to Whimsicott V, I don't think we got one ever before.
Yeah, so this is brand new.
We have the V-Star. Your opponent can't play any tools or special energy cards from their hand during their next turn. Tricky Wind could be a cool attack.
Yeah. And I mean, there's the new double colorless energy that we'll get to later. So yeah, I mean, 160, you're still 2-shot in a VMAX. So that's the type of damage output we've got.
And we saw that with Giratina before. I don't know how you're entirely going to be attaching these energies to this Pokemon, but I don't know, PJ, how would you power this Pokemon up?
I mean, you could use it with things like Shadow Rider. You could do that. You could do Psychic Energy, and then the new, I think it's, I forget the exact naming, but we'll get to it. The Turbo Energy, which is your second attachment, because you still have to evolve. Cotton Ball Star that does 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each energy attached to this Pokemon. Again, in correlation with a Shadow Rider VMAX. I mean, you could load this thing up and then just blast it. So it could be cool. Could be a cool little VMAX or V-Star card that we have here as an end game attack. Considering that you can do it to literally any one of your opponent's Pokemon. Is very good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it seems okay. I'm not really, like, super sold on this card. It's a card that could be okay, but whatever. Sigilyph. Flip 3 coins for each heads. Attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. could be okay. I think there might be better ways to power up things, especially in a Psychic type deck. We just talked about Cresselia. Maybe this is cool for some kind of late game stuff. But I'm not sold on it yet. Nose Pass evolves into Probopass that's Metal type, so we're gonna skip over that. Wormadam, I think we're probably going to skip over that as well. Because it's the same Wormadam that we saw, except it's Fighting type.
Right.
And I think those cards might be a little bit... they need like 30 plus 20 to really make it, I think. Riolu... You can go on, sorry, DJ.
I was going to say, Riolu and into the Lucario. Riolu is cool. I love the little fighting stance it's got there. Definitely a fan favorite for Pokemon, but the Lucario here, having Roaring Resolve, similar to the Charizard we saw a while back, just to self-accelerate energy. And then this one does 10 plus damage, so discard all fighting energy from this Pokemon. It does 60 more damage for each card discarded in this way. So if you take a couple of turns, we still have B in the format, where you can accelerate energy from deck to the Pokemon. You got Roaring Resolve. We could see this hit for a lot of damage for a single prize Pokemon. This would be a single type archetype, or a single prize archetype. I could see seeing some play for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems cool. I'm not entirely sure how I feel. Would Lance's Charizard V promo work for Charizard VSTAR? So if it has the name Lance in it, it's automatically a different card.
Correct.
So it could work in that deck, but it can evolve into a Charizard VSTAR or VMAX.
Right.
I told Linda to press the mute on there. And I literally coughed right into the camera. Nice. Yeah, Lucario seems cool. I don't know how, like, I just don't know if it's going to be enough damage outputs.
Right.
It's just like, think about it like 4 energies, you're hitting for 250, you put 80 damage on yourself. Like, I think there's other things that might be better. I honestly don't know. I have to still think about this card a little bit more. I think there might be a way to accelerate and move energies off this, like Energy Switch might be cool. Or if there's like something that moves energies, that could be really cool, but we'll have to see. We got Sock and Throw. This is literally, if I were a Pokemon, this would be me, because that's how I feel my body type is built. And then we got Sock, that might be PJ.
Yep. So
this Sock doesn't even look like a Pokemon. This looks like a knockoff Pokemon.
It's actually what I wear on a day-to-day basis.
That's what you, just the white robe?
Just the white robe around the house normally. I had to put this drip on today.
Yeah, put on the drip, the Givenchy karate outfit.
Yes.
30 damage, flip a coin if has discard energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Again, I could see these being included in the build and battle boxes. That's where I'm at. Oh, someone's saying Colossal with Lucario. Colossal rip it. I mean, I think Colossal is fighting and fire, right?
Yeah, you could use the.
So you can get one. I mean, it's cool. We'll have to see. I mean, Lucario might be good. Well, it's something that we're gonna determine. Again, this is really just like those early vibes. It's a really early set list.
Right. And we have to see what comes out, you know, in future sets too, post rotation. So it's always something to keep on the back burner. But yeah, Golett is always a cool Pokemon.
You know what they say about big hands, right?
That's right.
Big damage. Big damage. This attack does 10 damage for each card in your hand. So not go lurk game pack in. The damage.
Unfortunately not.
So I don't know, how many cards could you ever get into your hand? Like, if you have, you got to think of it, if you have 30 cards in your hands, you could not get a VMAX. If you have 30 cards in your hand, I think you could have done a lot more things with those cards. If Mew VMAX had 30 cards in your hands, there's no way you're winning that game. I'll put it like that.
For sure.
Grimer, I heard good things about the Muck. Grimer's going to do nothing, but Muck looking crazy. I didn't know that Muck could turn into a fist. I've actually... this Muck looks crazy.
The Muck artwork for sure is a little spooky here. But the Sludge Road, now we have a card that pairs well with Leafeon. So your retreat cost is a little bit more. If you do this with like a poison style deck, there was that Garbodor that auto poisons for an energy, or the stadium in play. And then you've got Galar Mine, you've got the Muck, and then you play with Leafeon, and now you're hitting big numbers again with Leafeon. You do have that dark type to kind of follow up if you're playing the right build. I could see Muck in a build similar to that. I think there was another Pokemon, I don't know exactly which one, but I'll have to look into it, that does more damage based on the retreat cost too, that was just a basic Pokemon, or a non-VX Pokemon.
Where's Lindsay now? She really likes Leafeon, so...
Yeah, right?
Leafeon Muck.
Yes,
Could be pretty
Leafeon
cool.
Muck could be a deck.
Could be a deck. We see Sneasel. Sneasel looks really... The art on that card's pretty crazy. I like that a lot.
I love Sneasel. Sneasel's one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Back from when it got banned out of standard format.
Oh, yeah.
But Sneasel is great.
Also, none of these cards have been Single Strike or Fusion Strike. Or...
Which makes me a little sad.
No Fusion Strike, no Single Strike. We might just be done with that mechanic. Although there was an Ice Cube that I saw floating around.
Yeah. I don't know where...
So I'm not sure if that's going to make it into the set. It looked like it was going to make it in the set. That might be an English promo.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any Fusion Strike, Single Strike, Rapid Strike. That might be the end of it. Or this might just be a one-off set that didn't have it.
Right. Let's see.
So,
we got Weavile. Does it do anything? Scratch and Shuffle.
Scratch and Sniff.
Yeah, there you go.
If you got at least one heads, your opponent reveals their hand. For each heads, put a card from their hand at the bottom of their deck. I can actually see this card being cool in some kind of control element deck. Like, controlling their hands, and then you can control their top deck. I don't know if there's a way to make that happen, but...
yeah.
I mean, I think it's, like, an interesting card. Like, not interesting enough to, like, write down on my buy list. Or maybe it is interesting enough to write on my buy list.
It could be a follow-up card to a
This could be,
build.
in, like, let's say we're playing a control deck. You could play Control Zoroark and have one Weavile rip a couple cards out of their hands.
For sure. Yeah, hand control could be huge. I'm a big control mill player. I love that aspect of it. I think there's so many more pieces that people aren't looking into for mill in the set here too. And then I think Muck could be another play in a Zoroark deck just to, you know, add on to a retreat cost if you're trying to heighten that with Galar Mine. There's a lot of cool dark pieces. I love dark Pokemon too. Some of my favorite archetypes aside from water. Which kind of leads us into Honchkrow V. I know that you're very hyped on this one.
Yeah, I think okay, so I'm hyped in the case that it works with Pachirisu. Like, don't don't go too far out there. I'm not that hyped. I mean, the card looks kind of crazy. Also, I do want to answer Profit Zero. How many cards come in sets? So this particular set has 172 cards in it. Sets vary from... I've seen sets with celebrations that have like under 50 cards included. That's a mini sets.
Right.
And we've seen sets that have almost like 300 in there. So it's one of those things where sets are what they are.
Right. What's exciting to me is that this is a main card set, and now we're lowering the amount of cards in the actual set, which is easier to pull big pulls like your Vs and your VSTARs and your alt arts and, you know, things like that. So just coming from the past 2 years of trying to pull out of packs, I think pack opening is going to become more exciting too.
Yeah, because you have a bit of a better chance to get it. I mean, I actually avoided Fusion Strike because the set was way too big, and I probably, as a player, wouldn't have been able to get cards that I'd want. Now, don't get me wrong, I like to open packs like anyone else, but at the same time, it's difficult. This card basically allows you to attach up to 4 Pokemon tools to it. If the ability stops working, you can discard them all until you have only 1 left. The attack, I don't think is necessarily going to connect or come off, but as some kind of thing to work with Pachirisu or further concepts, or I think there's even other Whimsicots that could discard stuff. I think this is actually really cool.
Yeah. I mean, even if you put it up, you got to think of, what was it, Wailord EX that you would stall with. You could put the Cape of Toughness, like we were talking about. You could play it with 4 big charms. Now you're making a big bad...
Well, you could play it with 4 capes.
Yeah. I mean, that's 400 hit points.
400 HP on a basic Pokemon is wild. No matter how you get
I wish we could get a Honchkrow V Max or a V Star and then it's an evolution Pokemon and you play it with Cheryl and just heal it, but
Yeah, it could be
still.
but then it wouldn't have the ability.
Right.
I don't know. It's one of those things where it's a cool card. We might see something else come from it, but I think that the Pachirisu deck is the first one that comes to mind.
Yep.
Spiritom's usually interesting, but this one, Ticking Terror, or Tickling Terror, Ticking Terror. Okay,
I think it's ticking.
Okay, not tickling. Yeah, Path is crazy against the Honchkrow. That's what makes it difficult. But if you just had this unchecked, you'd be wishing for a card like Path. I'll put it like that. Until the end of your next turn, the defending Pokemon's weakness is now Dark. I don't think that really helps us out too much because they could just switch around that. Put 2 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. I'd rather be using Medicham V and having that better thing. So, I mean, this is just not great, I don't think.
Yeah.
And moving on, we have Wormadam, the same card that we've seen, just again a different type. So, could be good. Yo, Sneaker Talk, how's it going? Honchkrow could be crazy. You could go 4 choice belts. Like, this card has a lot of usage. I could talk about this card for a while, but I think, like, right now, the biggest case with it is just, it's interesting, and we'll see how it works. Maybe there is a way to make it better. Like, I think Honchkrow is a card that a lot of people want to work with, and I'm really excited to see how the community works with it.
Yeah.
Probopass, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon if they're active. This is 40 damage, 120, 40 to itself, so we're not going to really work on that card. I don't think we're seeing too much. Same thing with this Heatran. 30 less damage from attacks, 80 plus a fire energy does 80 more. Like, I don't think this card's going to be good. It's like most other Heatran.
No.
Clink, nothing. Clang, nothing. We're getting to the point where a lot of it's filler. Your basic Pokemon take 20 less damage from attacks.
Right.
What do you think about that, PJ?
I mean, 20 is... It could be a significant amount, but again, we're looking at a stage 2 here where it's just not in the cards, no pun intended, that we're gonna get this thing out just to do anything. I mean, the attack on it, it's a huge energy cost for not a lot of output. These cards either end up in somebody's cube or in their alternative format deck or just in the bulk pile, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those things where, like, it's not even all Pokemon in play or all your Pokemon. It's it's all basic, and it's just so specific. Flygon V is a card that I'm, like, low-key divided on. Sand Spray is not really hitting for 70 damage, but doing Grass, Fighting, Colorless, 160. If your opponent's active Pokemon is at VMAX, this attack is 160 and discard, or an additional 160, and then you discard 3 energies from this Pokemon. Do you think doing 320 for 4 is crazy?
I mean, 320 for 4, it's a lot to ask for. If we...
and expanded this card sounds like it goes off with double dragon energy.
That's what I was gonna say. If we ever got like a dragon energy again, this would be fantastic. But doing it now in just a standard format, looking at it in the glass cannon of a standard format aspect, I don't think it's great now. Could it be good in the future? For sure. The energy acceleration just isn't here right now, especially for dragon Pokemon. And I think if that happens, this card would be great because, I mean, swinging a knockout potentially twice on a VMAX that wins you the game off of a basic Pokemon sounds good to me, but the energy acceleration to it is the hard part right now.
Yeah, I think it might be hard to accelerate the energy. So in the future, this card could become cracked, but I think it's going to be binder fodder for the most part right now. But if anyone in the comments has anything else, people saying Colossal, I mean, it's still, you got to get Grass, Fighting, Fire energies in the deck. It sounds a little bit like tight. They have to be playing a VMAX Pokemon. With VSTARs coming out there, it's not Pokemon V. So it might be, I don't know, you want to know what, I'm going to put it on the list just so I'm safe. This card could be good.
Like I have right in front of me here, the Regidrago, which was paired well with Cherim, and that one's still, not seeing a whole lot of play in the meta right now because it has a dual energy type. You have to have so much setup behind it. If this was a regular, basic type Pokemon that wasn't a V, then maybe. But right now, with it being a V and no energy acceleration to it, it just doesn't seem great.
Yeah.
In the future, maybe. Garchomp has always been cool. The whole Garchomp line. The crew is here: Gibble, Gabite, and then Garchomp. We've got the Sound Slip. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may prevent all damage from effects and of attacks done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So similar to the old school Lucario that used to put down, I think it's Stance was the effect.
Yeah.
Very similar to that. So
did that ever see play?
Not really.
I don't think this card's
kind of,
like. If we had double Dragon Energy, I think this is again one of those cards that you could go double Dragon Energy, maybe find some way to scoop this up or reutilize it or something. I just don't think that you're ever going to make it happen.
Yeah, if we had Super Scoop Up again back in the format, that would be cool. Acerola was another one, but I just... There is specifics that are coming out in this set for trainer cards, but not for this guy.
No, not for this one. Yo, Melts, how's it going? I'm doing well. We're just vibing out. Going over with some set review stuff, so it should be pretty cool. Learning a lot about this set, also compiling a buy list, and getting ready for PJ and I to build some decks for future Shuffle Showdowns. I think PJ and I might be too exhausted after this to do anything. Might take a midday nap or something, but
yeah, midday nap sounds clutch right now. We talked about this, I think, on the Shuffle Squad's live stream when you were streaming the tournament the other night on Thursday. The card art on here is just insane.
Yeah, the card art's crazy. Like literally, like the artist might be crazy. Someone check in on them. But it's it's wild. I don't think 20 plus 10 for each damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon. That seems like a specific Basculin type card.
Yeah, Basculin I think could see more play eventually if we get more good water type Pokemon. But this card, you know what? I'm not gonna write this one off because here's why. We still have Twin Energy, right? And then we still have other forms of acceleration to basic Pokemon. We are gonna have a new double colorless energy, and I think Mad Party could see some play again. And this would be a great card to splash into a Mad Party for one energy if you've already hit into it. That is going to take a knockout on a bigger Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a good way for a single prize card deck. Like, even like I don't know. There's ways to make this cool.
Yep.
I think it's not a bad card, but it's going to be a card that you like have in an ETB that you might pull out. I don't know if you'll ever pull this card out. We got Cast Form. I don't think Cast Form's doing much. We got Starly, Staravia not doing much. What do you feel about Strong Breeze? Your opponent shuffles their active Pokemon and all cards attached to their deck. I mean,
didn't we had a Hoot Hoot?
I think we had a Pidgeot that did this as well.
Yes, we had the Pidgeot, and none of them really saw a ton of play. You know, back in the control area where Pidgeotto was cool. It was out there, and then it kind of fell off. It was cool as a niche deck for like a week, and then nobody played it. So I don't think that we'll see this. Plus the 3 energy cost. It's a stage 2. You got to look at the checks and balances here. Cool, probably in pre-release. I'm sure that's really cool, but not so much now. The 180 attack is nice. You still have to discard 2 energy cards, or 2 energy from the Pokemon. So
yeah, I think this card like. I don't know. I just don't think it's worthwhile. I mean,
yeah, and cards like this scream pre-release to me. I'm just like not in standard. You won't see it in standard.
We do see Bidoof that looks entirely majestic and absolutely. I don't know if it's a camera perspective. Bidoof is bigger than Barry or whatever it is. That's scary. I'd be terrified, but I think it's a
Bidoof
perspective.
VMAX. Gotta get the Bidoof VMAX.
It was Bidoof Day at some point, right? So they got
to shout out to Bidoof. I mean, collector cards are big.
This card's crazy. Once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. What do you feel about that?
Yeah. I mean, look at Octillery back from what was it, Breakpoint? So that was huge, where you had that draw. I mean, Oranguru too. Oranguru saw.
Well, we saw this with what was that other card that we saw this on? Was it Silvally?
Yes. Yep.
Silvally actually saw a lot of play in that Dark Box deck.
Right. So I could see this eventually. This is a potential buy list card for sure.
I think this is like a must-have buy list card for sure. I think
Okay.
Barrel is just like one of those cards where, think about like random decks that just like are like can cycle through those cards. Like this might be better in a Malamar deck.
Or if you put it in control, if you play it in Zoroark control, just to draw. I mean, Zebstrika used to discard to draw. You really, in a control deck, you want to see more cards, and you want to see the cards that you need. And the faster you can do that, the easier it is to maneuver through the deck. So I could see this card seeing some play in not only control, but alternative archetypes like you were talking about.
For sure, for sure. So I think that card's obviously great. I think this is like might be the best V star that we have in the sets, and that is Arceus V. I think it's Arceus, right? I used to always pronounce it as Arceus, but I think it's Arceus from what I've seen with the new Arceus game coming out on Switch. Search your deck for 3 basic energy cards, attach them to your Pokemon V in any way you like. That sounds really good. It's accelerating energies, power edges, meh. But we do have Arceus VSTAR. Search your deck for 3 basic energy cards, attach them to your Pokemon V. This card seems a little familiar. I don't know, PJ, has there ever been an Arceus that attached energies like this before? Like,
yeah, it's just like, well, the 3 basic energy cards from deck is really cool, and then hitting for 200 is really nice. You could set a lot of things up with that. It doesn't have to be different types of energy, which we've seen on other similar attacks like this, where it has to be different types of basic energy. If you're hitting with Trinity Nova and you have another Arceus V-Star on the bench, you're hitting 200 back to back. If you're able to throw like an air balloon on here, and this one or even if it gets knocked out, there's lots that you can do with this. The Starbirth ability here, where you search your deck for the 2 cards and put them into your hand, is very nice in a control style attacking deck, very similar to how Zoroark GX was eventually played as a control. I see this played in things like Togekiss VMAX. That's my hot take. So you're able to spam your energies from inside your deck onto your Togekiss VMAX. You're able to switch around a little bit. It doesn't really matter what typing the basic energies are. You've got the choice belt that's also able to be played with a lot of things like this. I think this card has a ton of potential.
Yeah, I think the attack seems to be 2-hitting. I think there's ways to accelerate energies to this Pokemon really quickly. I think that it's splashable in many decks. Starbirth could literally be that boss's orders for game. Or it could be a defensive path to the peak Marnie. So I think that there's a lot of cool things. Like, I'm looking in the chat and people are like, everyone seems to have their own opinion about what Arceus V-Star could bring. We see Flygon, Duraludon, Shadow Rider, Melanie, and I'm just like, that could be kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, you got to look at things like, we go
it
back
is like
to
Pikarom. Honestly, it is like Pikarom.
Similar. For sure, yeah. Pikarom is exactly what I was going to say. You could plant your energies. There's so many basic V Pokemon out there now, too, that can swing for huge damage, but they just don't have the energy acceleration they need. And with a card like this, there's going to be a lot of potential to build around, and that's what I love from a card, is where, it's not just one solid archetype. There's so much you can do with it, and that brings creativity to the game, and that's what makes the game fun, and people want to play it more. So a card like this is really going to bring Pokemon, the trading card game, back to where, we see all this creativity from deck builders come back out. It makes it a lot more fun for people.
I think ADP was, a lot of people did not like ADP because ADP Zacian really turned them off of the game, and that was a really oppressive deck. But I did find a lot of ADP players did allow for creative rogue decks. We saw like ADP the Galarian, or the ADP Birds, and all those kind of different decks. I do think that this card might be similar in a way that's less oppressive against the game. So I'm excited to see how this card grows, and to experiment with a bunch of different builds. So I think, I really want to work on it a lot more.
Yeah, so you got to think, like, if we see Eternatus come back because of the low hit points on Arceus here, or Arceus, then you could just start playing fighting Pokemon into the deck. That again, you know, you're gonna see that the Flygon come into play too. So
Yeah.
you're gonna play fighting energies. There's again so much.
I think it's endless, and it does work
Yeah.
on V Max, V Star, V Union Pokemon, because it just says Pokemon V. So I think there's a lot of ways. Moving on to Minccino. Minccino's kind of crazy, I think. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy card or basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Since we already have playable Cinccino, I think that this is just the best one that we have, and I think it's a worthwhile pickup to anyone who's has Cincinos or has ever used Cincinos. We see it in Malamar decks, or we've seen in Control decks, or even in past Blacephalon decks. This might be the better one to play for Control, and it is the best one that we have in the game right now. So I do want to point that out. The Cinccino, however, is very not fun. It's a very cute looking Pokemon, but the Culver family Minccino is a nice addition for some decks.
Yes.
Tornadus is a card that I don't know how I feel about. It does when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may have your opponent switch their active Pokemon with their bench they choose. So it's half of an escape rope.
Right.
Do we feel like that's ever worthwhile to play down?
I mean, it depends on how the meta goes. I think that, you know, if this is in a control deck, that's fine.
I mean, I guess there's Scoop Up Net, right?
Right. So you could do it with Scoop Up Net. You could do it, you know, if you're playing, again, a Galar Mine build control, this is good. But it's really niche. I would say maybe 2 of on a buy list just in case it becomes relevant.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because it is an uncommon, so you probably want to pick it up, you know, now. You know, you see a lot of these cards, they're 20 cents at the beginning US, and then they become $2 because they're harder to come by, or people want the
this card could be great in 2 years. Like, we can't just necessarily think of it now. We got to think about, like, even an expanded you might be able to pitch this card away. I don't know, it's interesting. But I'll just leave it at that. It's interesting. We got fresh water sets.
Yes, now to the trainer cards, my favorite cards of the set.
These are usually the best cards in the set are the trainer cards. So if you're new to Pokemon, the Pokemon typically are not the best cards in the sets. Like, the best card from the set is definitely Ultra Ball, for what it's worth. There's nothing that's changing my mind.
Yes.
But Freshwater Set, I think, is kind of mediocre. I don't know if we have Freshwater Set in the format already. It's cards like this that typically just don't get played too much anyways. I think we have better healing in the format, maybe with Team Yell Towel or any cards. Ultra Ball is a card that I think that PG and I could talk for a while. To anyone who needs a refresher, discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for any Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hands.
Man, what a card. We've been fiending for it for a few years now because it's left us. But the potential that this card brings to the game is absolutely unlimited. There was a void left because we not only lost Ultra Ball, but then we lost Pokemon Communication to get all of these niche. Everybody who's out there watching that plays rogue decks, that plays single prize decks, that plays those, you know, the one-off in your deck to go and search for that you don't necessarily have a search in your hand for. All those people playing Great Ball in their deck because they need that extra specific search, but they don't have it after you look at Evo Incense and you look at Quick Ball. This just brings in a whole new realm back to the game that was there. I mean, we've had Ultra Ball for forever, and then it left us, and then we're just kind of scrambling at that extra ball search. We have support for it too. We have Ball Guy. I know that there was the puppy there. I can never remember. Yamper. We have Yamper that got, you know, anything that had ball in the name back in. So there's so much you can do with it. I'm hyped. Again, Eternatus is a big one for me. I think that this is going to be great.
I think any VMAX deck, because VMAX decks they've been Evolution Incense is a really weird card to play for like 3 cards in your deck.
For sure.
I think like even like Shady Dealings and Teleon and Shady Dealings Drizzle can be searched out easier. We look at cards like Mew VMAX, and I'm just like, do I play Great Ball? Do I play Pokeball? Maybe I'll just play Ultra Ball now and discard those useless Pokemon in my hand guarantee
I
my
mean,
Genesect to be very happy.
yeah, look at it in expanded. Look at it in Japan. It's already out in Japan. If you look at the meta there, I mean that's what they're playing in all of their Mew VMAX decks. Mew VMAX is dominating right now, and there is no Great Ball. You see for Ultra Ball, for Quick Ball. Specific search is huge in this game, and if you're just starting out or if you've been playing forever, I mean, if you've been playing forever, you already know that. But if
Gotcha.
you're
I
just
do want
starting
to.
out,
People in the chat are going. They're like, PJ, Yamper only grabs Pokeball and Great Ball. So Yamper.
oh, you're right, right. I'm sorry.
Shout out
It's my fault.
to shout out to
Gotta read
Professor
the
Oaks
cards. Gotta
Z-Star for
get
letting
it.
us know.
Yeah, I gotta get some new prescriptions here.
Gotta get some new prescriptions. I mean, Ultra Ball's crazy. I think it's gonna fit in most decks.
Oh my
It might
gosh.
bring some decks back, such as Eternatus VMAX, that hasn't necessarily seen success. But in a format where we have these V-Star weird card, like this could search out any Pokemon. I think it's very good. We have ways to discard things better. Like Ultra Ball was a very much needed card in the format. So that's a card that I think easily 4 of on the buy list.
Yeah.
Choice Belt.
I mean, yeah, both of these cards back to back is just so good. You know, we had choice band before, right? And that
we
was
also
for
had choice
Jack.
helmets.
Yes, choice helmet. Any of the choice cards have always been good. Zach, what's your experience in playing choice cards in your decks?
So at Latin America International Championships of 2018-2019 season, I was able to play Choice Helmet in my Blacephalon deck, and that allowed me to make top 8 at the event. So that was really cool. I think Choice Band has largely been one of the more successful decks in any given format. So the fact that we have Choice Belt that is basically reprinted for Pokemon V, V-Star, V-Union, V-Max. And when I say that, V-Unions aren't really relevant right now, but it is one of those things where it is relevant enough that we should be able to bring that up. Just doing an extra 30 damage could definitely be huge. Putting this on a Mew VMAX, having a permanent power tablet in play is kind of whack, but
Yeah.
so it does speed up the format a little bit. And this card, we might end up hating this card, but there's no denying that this card is very good.
Right. You got to think, because if you're doing Melodious Echo, you're hitting 280. Now we're hitting 310. Then we need only 1 power tablet to knock out a VMAX Pokemon. I mean, there's a reason that this card was not leaked until the full set release. Because a lot of these other cards here were leaked prior to that.
Yeah.
And then
I was very hyped when I saw this card.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Very excited.
What else do we got? We got Pot Helmet.
No.
If the card this is attached to doesn't have a rule box, it takes 30 less damage. So the fact that like Pokemon that don't have rule boxes literally have like 100 or so HP. If they're a stage 2, they might have 160 HP. I don't think this is saving it from getting knocked out.
No.
So I don't think it's worthwhile. We do see Kindler though. You can use this card only if you discard a fire energy card from your hands. And then, sorry, I guess I need to finish the rest. In my mind, I'm speaking out loud, but I'm not. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, put up to 2 of them into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. What do we think about that?
I mean, if we're going to discard fire energy, there's support for that. To get it out of your discard pile. Eventually, looking at the top 7 cards has been good in the past. I mean, look at Jirachi. Jirachi was huge, right? Unfortunately, it is a supporter, but it being that you're using your supporter for turn, you can search out things like, you know, your choice belt. You could search out things like your evolution Pokemon that you need for the turn. You can get your energy. I mean, it's good. I think this card is very good.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm not sure what you're actually going to be searching out from the top of the deck, but maybe it's just works out really well for fire type decks, or maybe even decks that could slap a few fire energies in there.
Right.
So moving on, we see Cynthia's Ambition. So Ambitious Cynthia, draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, draw cards until you have 8 instead. So it seems like a kind of Cynthia's I always get confused because there's always Cynthia's something going on there.
Right.
I feel like this card seems okay, but I wouldn't instantly put it as a must-have buy.
Yeah, it seems like a good card in things like Rapid Strike Malamar, where you want to grow the hand. That's a very Bruno-esque card. I think that we'll see.
I think that's a fair way to put it.
Yeah, so it's a niche play. It's not an awful supporter, but not something that you're going to see in every single deck going forward.
Yeah, and I think niche supporters are really cool. I've definitely had a lot of fun experimenting with what's it called? Zinnia's Resolve and stuff like that, and we've seen those come into mainstream deck and Bruno and Shauna, and I think that there's more ways than just one to build these decks. And a lot of people get caught up in this for Marnie, for research mentality, when that has largely not been the case in previous formats. So, moving on to Charon's Care, card that we have in English, put one of your colorless Pokemon that has any damage counters on it and all cards attached to it in your hands. That's kind of crazy.
This is Acerola reimagined for only colorless Pokemon. So again, where we have things like Cheryl that can heal your evolution Pokemon. We have the Arceus VSTAR that's coming out that is colorless. Togekiss, I think, could see a lot of play. Snorlax VMAX can make a comeback with something like this, where you're stalling with the Snorlax VMAX at 340 hit points, and then you're just popping it right back into your hand. If you're able to get your supporter cards back in, we've got Palpad, we've got a bunch of single prize Pokemon that can recycle these. That could be an archetype right there.
I'm thinking Charon's Care, like right now, like we're talking about Arceus, and I'm just like, Arceus is weak to fighting, so you just toss in that new Dunsparce from Fusion Strike, so it has no weakness. It's likely not going to get knocked out for 280 damage. You go Arceus V-Star, power up another Arceus V-Star, Charon's Care, rip it back, and then keep on just chaining 200 so you're not getting knocked out.
Chain 200, you play it with Blissey. Look at Blissey VMAX. It's a tier 3 deck right now, but it could move it up to tier 2 with something like this.
I think the two things to take away from this set are look at fire type Pokemon and look at colorless type Pokemon with a magnifying glass, because those are cards that you are likely going to find that might be a little bit better now, especially with the fire support and Charon's Care in general. Professor's Research, I think, is a card that if you haven't picked it up, like let's say if you're new to entering the game, I think it's a must-have.
For sure. Research, just getting the reprint with the F block is huge.
It just means that we're going to have a really good draw support for another, 3 years, if I'm doing my math right?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, 3 years, hopefully.
Or 2 years from the set, or 2.5 years from the set.
Exactly.
So that's always a nice addition. Same thing, because this got the F block reprint as well, right?
Yeah. Yep, Boss's Order. So we're gonna have Boss, and we're gonna have Research for at least another 2 years.
And the art on this card, I think, goes crazy. We might even see another full art Boss.
Right.
At some point.
I'd be
full art Cyrus Boss sounds cracked.
We never got the full art Lysander Boss yet, so.
Yeah, that's very true. I like having the different options because we have the research. We have all the different research and stuff like that.
I'm a fan of the Oak Research full art. That's the only full art supporter that I still kept, is the research.
Yeah. Collapse Stadium, new stadium, interesting. Each player can't have more than 4 bench Pokemon. If a player has 4 or more bench Pokemon, they discard Pokemon until they have 4. The player who played this card discards first. If more than one effect changes the number of bench Pokemon, use the smaller number.
This kind of slaps E-Turn in the face. Not only do you have Path, but you also have Collapse Stadium. If E-Turn does see a rise in play, this is going to be a heavily teched card for it. You saw things like back in the day when Control was played, you saw the Pseudo-Wudo with a similar effect being played in there as a one-off splash. So I see this card seeing some play. I would pick it up.
Yeah, I would pick it up. I think it's great. Might not see a lot of play at first, but I think as we're seeing with Mew VMAX, there's definitely a bunch of stadiums in play that you could just kind of splash in different decks. Stadiums are usually cards that become good at some points. Magma Basin, and speaking about stadiums, I think this card's cracked out of its mind, like a 4 of cracked. Once during each player's turn, that player may attach a fire energy from the discard pile to one of their benched fire Pokemon. If a player attached an energy to the Pokemon in this way, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon.
Right.
I
mean, even if you want to get rid of it, you could always play Potion for the 2 damage. I don't think it's going to matter. I think this card is just so broken for the game to accelerate energy with a stadium. It's going to be very good. And I mean, you've got the supporter for the support on this to discard energy. You've got Ultra Ball back again. It's just so good.
Yeah. People are saying if you want to ditch Crobat V or Lumineon V, that sounds kind of hot. There's a lot of cool plays that you can make with the other one. Magma Basin, I think, I'm not going to necessarily bring up any fire type deck, but Scorch VMAX might come to mind, and decks that have seen previous amount of success could be really cool. This is probably going to get slapped in the new Charizard VSTAR, or for anyone who's trying to experiment with that, so I think this is great. The last one that we have here in this set is Double Turbo Energy. So as long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides double colorless energy. Any Pokemon, no rules on this one, except it does minus 20 attacks.
Yeah, I mean, still with Arceus VSTAR, you're hitting 180, which is still significant damage for a Pokemon that doesn't give up 3 prize cards. Again, going back to Mad Party, you probably throw this in there. There's so much potential for this. I mean, the sky's the limit because you can now attach this to V Pokemon.
Yeah, I think this one's kind of it goes hard. So I think that there's a lot of attacks that might not necessarily do damage. A lot of people brought up that there's a Durant that might be able to discard some cards off your opponent's deck. This might work well in a control element, like we've seen with Poisel. So this really could help us out a lot, making things work out. Even powering up that Arceus VSTAR, getting that damage. Like in a lot of decks, the minus 20 is probably not that big of a drawback. So this card is probably going to be very crazy in a lot of decks. So look for interesting ways that maybe they do damage counters. They don't do any damage, or there's some kind of card that is getting cards back, such as the Floatzel. I think that there's other attacks, such as the Arceus VSTAR, that does 180 plus 180 is still 360, which is a knock-it on most VMAXs, or most Pokemon. So things like that could really work out well. So there is another part of the set that we know is coming out, and that's Start Deck 100. Start Deck 100 is a set of 414 cards that are mainly just reprints of what we have, but there's 19 alternate art reprints and 35 brand new cards. Now, this isn't the most exciting set that we've seen, but for the few cards that we have, some of them seem quite playable. You can see that these are old cards with brand new artwork, and I'm not sure what's reprinted, what's not reprinted. Like, we might see another Luxray that's Rapid Strike being reprinted with new arts. We have to get these in English somehow, or maybe we don't. We'll find out. But things like Stell and V, like they're whatever. It's cool. We will see, like, these cards have new legality, so we might see Catcher in this set the same way that we see Professor's Research and all this.
The Crushing Hammer, though. The Crushing Hammer is back for control players. I mean, Crushing Hammer is huge. Getting an F-block Crushing Hammer. When I saw this a while back, I was so hyped to actually see Crushing Hammer come back. I know a lot of people hate it, but I mean, since the beginning of the game, you've always had energy removal. Look at base set. You had energy removal, then you got super energy removal and jungle. I mean, it's just part of the game is removing energy, and just to have that back here is good.
Even Switch, having Switch back.
Yes. If we didn't have Switch in a format, that would be it would be tough.
The new energies, I'm also we're seeing Ben talk about energies. The energies do look kind of hot, though. I'm a sucker for basic energies when a new set drops, and
Yep. Oh yeah.
I like it a lot. These cards look cool.
I wish we got the silver border like they did in Japan. But
yeah,
I mean, I'll take the artwork for sure. I think the ones from Sword and Shield were clean, but these ones were really nice.
Oh yeah, I like these a lot. So those cards are pretty basic. You probably have these cards, or they're going to be literally pennies to the dollar. Like, cool. The new cards that we do want to go over are Carablast. Carablast not looking too much with its 10 damage. We're
Yep.
probably going to go through like these attacks really quick, or these cards really
Yeah.
quick. Zarude, because a lot of these cards are
Mhm.
Star Deck 100 seems like it's a way for players to pick it up in kind of what was that game that they had? Was it Key? You know which one?
Keyforge?
Keyforge. It seems
Yeah.
kind of like Keyforge esque, but more on a casual level to get more players casually in with the deck. 30
Right.
plus 30 or 30 plus 30 snipe doesn't seem great. And then doing 240, it seems like maybe as a one of if you're playing a grass deck, which is largely likely irrelevant due to Magma Basin. I'm going to pass on this one. But
Right.
NTV is like Suicune,
Yeah.
but fire type.
Yep, we got a lot of Suicune lovers here in the chat, I'm sure. But the NTV seems very good, especially with all the support it's getting. People are going to start loading up their benches. It's just going to be a lot of fun to play cards like this.
Yeah, I think like what we've seen with Suicune V, except everything is fire type, and instead of Melanie, we have Magma Basin. So to me, it seems like it's going to work out here.
Yeah. I could see a deck playing all three of the legendary dogs to hit for weakness.
That's
my
very well have the same like Burning Rondo instead of Blizzard Rondo. So very similar attacks. Torkoal, 30 damage, flip a coin at 30, 90 during your opponent's this Pokemon takes less. We see Simisear. I think this was actually the most unpopular Pokemon of all time when it was voted. 20 attach 2 basic energy cards from your hands to your Pokemon any way you like. Could be okay. 90 plus 30 for each energy attached to your opponent's active. I think that this card is probably going to sit. The first attack's okay, but I don't see how we're ever gonna. I mean, maybe it's good. Maybe it's good. I don't know. I think maybe it's better than I think it is. I'm gonna put it on the buy list as like a 2 of. I think it could be cool. In the same way that okay, you got to look at it like this. In the same way that we've seen Volcanion on the first turn, I think we could see Simisear V power things up. Would be nice to have a single prize card Pokemon do this, but
I know. Yeah, just to have the energy acceleration, it's cool. And then again, you were talking about the Centiskorch VMAX. It could be paired well with that. So that's
right. So
another alternative.
It could work out well. Maybe Simisear V is better than I think. Kingler V and VMAX. If flip a coin, if had search your deck for 5 water energy cards and attach to your Pokemon in any way you like. That's kind of a heavy weighted coin flip.
Yeah.
Search your deck for 5 water energies, attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. 240. This Pokemon does 30 to itself.
What's the stadium there, the Glimwood Tangle, where you get to reflip?
I mean, I guess you have a 75% chance of getting 5 energies, and you're likely going to get knocked out. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, is 240 worth it?
There? Right.
It could be.
There's a big fire meta though. Could be cool.
Could be cool. I mean, I think these are cards that make the buy list, but not must-haves. Like, if you're about this, that's really cool. And I feel for you, and it's all that stuff. Like, I get it. Like, cards like this I think are cool. Yeah. I don't know if they're ever going to be the world's winning deck. But maybe we've seen some players play things like this. Weird cards have been pulled out, like Cramorant and VMAX during the Players' Cup. So these off the beaten path kind of cards do pull up, and do pull up. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know what else to say there. So I think it's kind of cool. What else do we have? We have a Staryu. We have a Pikachu V. I think we're getting this Pikachu V in English. Discard all lightning energies attached to this Pokemon if you do 120. Pikachu Vs are a dime a dozen. Raichu V, again, lightning type version of Suicune V and of Entei V.
Yep.
So that could work well in this. That could work well in that Raichu deck that I was talking about earlier.
Yep, the Raichu deck with Flaffy here, accelerating energy every turn. It's kind of a dump and draw with Ultra Ball. It could be very good.
So I think that's kind of cool. What else do we got? We got a Starmie. 10 plus 30 damage attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Not really going to be great. Mewtwo looks really crazy. That Mewtwo looks evil for sure.
I'm just hyped to have another Mewtwo card in the format. Just because we haven't had one for a little bit. Mewtwo's, again, one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. unfortunately underwhelming attacks.
Yeah. Granbull, 30 plus 10 for each damage counters on this Pokemon. Might be difficult to get those damage counters on there. Looks kind of cool, though. Him on top. We're really just like rolling through these. 50 for each energy in your opponent's attack active Pokemon retreat costs. I think that Leafeon's just going to be a better version of this card. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, Leafeon, or yeah, doing damage with, in conjunction with a couple other things. You know, if we're looking at the Flygon V.
You need a lot more. Like,
maybe.
it's too many moving pieces,
Yeah.
I think.
Exactly. Yeah, it's playing a stage 2 right now. Doesn't seem like the greatest idea, unless there's some way of accelerating it.
I like this card. Leopard, you may discard a
Yes.
card from your hand to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 2 cards. This might be a better version of Cinccino for a lot of players. In single
Yes.
prize card decks, it could be really good in control. Does reset
Yep.
kind of the it's a spiritual reprint of Trade as a stage 1
Yes.
Pokemon. Not getting that attack. That's great with Zoroark, but I do think that Leopard does work out really nice here.
I could see this being like a promo card in the future too. Very good again in dark decks. Anything that has that trade ability, and then you know Galarian Moltres. If you're able to discard energy, now you're accelerating the energy to Galarian Moltres V. Very good in a lot of these decks that we're seeing in the current meta. So I think this is going to be a heavily playable card.
Gotcha. We see Impidimp, Morgrim. For each dark energy attached to this Pokemon, does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Cool. I think it's just another Grimmsnarl that's interesting. The art's crazy on it, but it's not playable. We do see more Peko V, 30 damage. Yep. This could also evolve into the more Peko V Max that we have already in the format. I don't think that being dark type is going to be helpful, but 30 damage. You may switch with one of your bench Pokemon 120 if you played Marty's Pride from your hand. During your turn, this attack does 120 more. Likely not going to be great. I don't think any of these play a stadium do 240. Sounds crazy. But looks crazy. Looks awesome. I don't think it's super playable right now.
Yeah, not right now. Maybe in going forward if that support of Marnie's Pride becomes more relevant, and then, you know, we see more of these Vs and VMAX with the dark weakness come in.
For sure. Aggron, 90 damage, does 30 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. 150 if your opponent's active Pokemon already has any damage counters on it. This attack does 150 more damage. That's 5 energy attack there, not 4. So that seems like way too much.
Right.
Aggron VMAX, 150, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. 5 energies, 270, does 30 damage to itself. I think that this is going to be back of the binder, shoebox, bulk VMAX pile.
Yep.
This Pokemon takes 100 damage less from your opponent's Pokemon V. I don't think that's going to help it.
No.
Just hard as a stage 1. If it was a basic, maybe, but tough. Zamazenta V. I know that Josh Sutherland in the world is probably smiling with a mimosa right now. You can use this ability once during your turn. If you do, your turn ends, discard your hand, draw 5. So a change up from the Intrepid Sword. Could be good in control, maybe. Could be good in Wormadam.
Yep. Could be good in that aspect. Any dump and draw to 5 seems good. But I feel like this is like a first turn or a control aspect, but you really don't want to mill yourself and deck yourself out with something like this. I still feel like the old school Sword and Shield base set Zamazenta is 1,000 times better.
Maybe. I don't know. I think in the future, if we don't have access to Zacian V, Intrepid Sword, cards like this are not, they don't come by that often. So, just throwing it out there that it could be, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Could be a good draw supporter for future formats.
Nothing, 160, nothing. So those cards are just going to get absolutely, we're going to pass by. Attach it to 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. That could be cool, but it might be difficult to get that out on the first few turns. Yeah. So I don't think that there's probably a few other cards that do similar things. I didn't know there was a Drampa V. I know. But I think that, again, this is one of those cards that is filler V Max kind of stuff.
Right.
So I think this is cool, but it's going to be very much like the Greninja and Tyrannotars. I don't think it necessarily has anything right now going for it.
Exactly.
Show up to the 3 in any combination of Pokemon and supporter cards from your discard pile into your deck. I think Team Yell's Cheer seems really good.
That seems very good. And Zach, I'm going to let you talk about these next couple of supporters. I'm just going to head over to the restroom real quick.
Oh, you're completely fine. So I'm going to write this down for the buy list. I think it's just ways to get back supporter cards. Sounds great, especially in some kind of setting where you're trying to play a control deck or anything like that, trying to get back resources. It does get back unique resources that we're looking for here, so that's cool. Berry is going to be the typical hop of the sets, which I don't think is going to be very worthwhile. So just drawing 3 cards, great for some newer players learning the mechanics of supporters. For players who are seasoned competitive players or trying to get better at the game, I'm sure you're all like, yeah, this card's bulk. Marnie's Pride, attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. I think this is an interesting card. I don't know if we want to be getting, like, it's another one of these kind of weak supporters that's not necessarily going to get what we were looking for. We're looking for like maybe 2 energies, that'd be crazy. Or even if you look at something like Melanie, for example, Melanie gets that and draws 3 cards. So when we compare it to other things, it might not be as good, but I think it's still a card that you might want to pick up as a buy list if you just see them or get them cheap enough. So in terms of the set, that's what we see here. I think
yeah,
that brings us to the end of our set review, PJ.
Yes, I mean, I feel like a lot of exciting things are coming out of the set, again, with a smaller size. Lots of cool things to be looking forward to, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, feel free to let us know in the comments if there's any cards that you think we missed or you think are better. But I know that PJ and I have been literally talking for a couple hours at this point. Set reviews are not an easy task. But I think what it did accomplish for us, at least, is understanding most of the 172 cards in the set and getting some ideas to build some decks for the Shuffle Showdown. So for future weeks, PJ and I are likely going to skip our current standard formats and look forward to Brilliant Stars format and really bring you some brand new decks and archetypes and provide that for the community. If you did like this video, give it a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. Double check to see if you haven't subscribed. And maybe you're on a different account today, because I know I'm not the only one who has a different Google account or a YouTube account. So subscribe from your other account too. The set list is available on PokeBeach. I'll just put that in the chat one more time. And I am going to update the description with what we have going on there. So yeah, I don't know. Shout out to PJ for coming on and hanging out, and everyone who was hanging out with us. Any last words you got, PJ?
No, I mean, definitely check us out. We're going to be providing a lot of awesome content going forward. You know, check us out in your local online tournament as well, as we start to utilize some of these cards here coming up in February, and also some live footage. So thank you for everybody hanging out with us here on the live stream, and everybody who will be watching this video in the future. Hope to talk to everybody soon. Take care and play Pokemon.
Yeah, for sure. And one more thing, I know that PJ just said bye. I did forget that we didn't go over Roseanne's backup. So I'll just quickly...
Roseanne.
Not Roseanne's. Roseanne's cooking up Pokemon in her lab or something like that.
Yeah.
Choose one or more. So you could choose all of them. Shuffle a Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. Pokemon Tool card back into your deck, Stadium card back into your deck, Energy card back into your deck. That could be anything. I think cards like this are great for the game. So that's just my general thing, that cards that allow you to grab things back are usually must-haves on the list. And I do want to throw that quickly out there, that it's likely worthwhile to pick up these cards.
For sure. I love Roseanne. I think that it's a great card to have. Again, we talked about control. We talked about, you know, putting stadiums back into play. This is huge. This card's huge. I'm excited for this stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really, yeah, the set has a lot of really good cards for other cards, or it has a lot of supporting cards for other sets and stuff like that. And I think that other decks are going to grow a lot just from this, and we're going to see new archetypes be born. So it's not going to be like a Fusion Strike where we just see Gengar and Mew from the sets. I think we're going to see a lot of other decks and other past concepts come back. So I'm hyped about that. So yeah, I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great day, and stay tuned for more Pokemon content here and on the Shuffle Squad. Subscribe here and subscribe to the Shuffle Squad as well. Appreciate all that. I'll catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one.